Today's video is brought to you by Summoner's War. Summoner's War is the classic mobile turn-based RPG, and to celebrate their 6th year since first launching, they're giving away 100 free summons as part of their new event. With over 1,000 unique monsters to collect, it's the perfect way to test out tons of team compositions and runes to help progress through the game. Even at 6 years running, there's always something new to do in Summoner's War, like the weekly in-game events, or challenging other players in the PvP arena, or even getting creative with how you customize your own Sky Island. So, what 100 monsters will you summon to start your journey? You can start collecting your 100 mystical summoning scrolls right now for free by clicking the link in the description. I learned something today. I'm freaking old, man! When I started this channel, I was a couple years older than Brock, and now I'm gonna be older than Ash's mom. That's, But despite the fact that this platform has changed a ridiculous amount in the last decade, there remains one universal truth. You guys sure do love to watch me hate stuff. Consistently over the last decade plus, if I cover a topic, my least favorites, hates, worsts, insert negative word here, they outperform the positives. At first I thought, wow, that's incredibly depressing. I'm incentivized to spread negativity in this world? That's horrible. What have I done? But then I thought about it this way. What would you rather see? This or this? I think I get it now. It's just entertaining watching something get dunked on. It's cathartic. And let me tell you, in times like these, I think we could all use a little catharsis here and there. And what better subject to drop a rock bottom on than everyone's favorite punching bag? Unfortunately colored shiny Pokémon.
That thing's green! Green!
We got a start on this one with the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield, but there are still hundreds of creatures that I have not dropped my almighty 100% objectively accurate, completely factual, undisputed judgment upon. Here's my top 10 worst shiny Pokemon, this time including the entire Pokemon roster. Let's talk about it. Alright, let's talk about some garbage Pokemon. As Dwayne himself would say, let us rock some bottoms. At least, pretty sure that's what he said.
Number 10.
JOLTEON. Bridging the gap from my last shiny video where I talked about a green shiny Pokemon I didn't like in Sword and Shield, comes another green one that I just don't like.
That thing's green! Green!
I've said it before, I don't hate all green shiny Pokemon. Dark Green Dragonite just doesn't bother me the way that it does for other people. Same goes for what seems to be the most popularly hated shiny Pokemon of all time, Espeon. But nah, it's a different evolution. It's Jolteon and that weird shade of green, which is one of my least favorite colors in the world. It's not a bold green, it's not a bold yellow, it's this weird Gatorade-like purgatory between the two. This is Sickness Green. My whole life I've seen cartoon characters, comics, emojis, they all turn this exact same shade of green when bad things are about to happen. I like Jolteon, but I prefer my Jolteon healthy.
Number 9.
Dusknoir. Dusknoir shiny itself is okay. It's a subtle shift to blue. It isn't exceptional, but I also wouldn't call it actively offensive either. But I think what makes this one hurt so much for me, and ultimately why Dusknoir is here today, is the loss of potential. I'm super biased here. Red is my favorite color by a pretty wide margin. When red shinies show up, I love them. The first shiny many of us ever encountered was red. Red Genesect is one of my favorites of all time. And the Duskull line starts so perfectly. The concept of a Crimson Reaper just works. This could have been such a badass line if they kept the theme going. If this Dusknoir just followed suit, I think it would be my favorite shiny Pokemon of all time. But it wasn't, so it isn't.
Number 8.
Shiinotic. My thoughts on this one are pretty simple. It goes from pink to poop, actively getting uglier and likely stinkier in the shiny transition. Like, I get that most natural mushrooms are brown, and this does make it look more quote-unquote realistic, but this is the magic world of Pokemon, and this is a magical fairy mushroom. Even if we are looking to the real world, there are tons of bioluminescent mushrooms that have all kinds of gorgeous colors in the natural world. With all these colors in the real world, it's a little hard to get pumped over poop.
Number 7.
Alolan Grimer. So on its own, Grimer is a disgusting Pokemon. It's a big pile of sentient sludge. Is there a strange cuteness to it? Debatably yes. Debatably yes for every Pokemon. But it is, using the scientific term here, kinda yucky. Have you ever looked at Grimer and thought to yourself, I like this, but I kinda wish it had pee-pee mouth? And before you can even begin to comprehend that question, bam, here you go, you're welcome, shiny Alolan Grimer. Even ignoring the pee-pee mouth, and yes, it is hard to ignore the pee-pee mouth, why would I want my special alternate color form to look almost identical to something we've been looking at for 20 years already?
Number 6.
Granbull. Granbull is yet another Pokemon with an unfortunate transformation. Shiny Snubbull has always been a favorite of mine. The orange feet are a little tacky, but that main mix of cool lavender is just eye-catching. Evolve that sucker and it'll still be eye-catching, if by eye-catching you mean catching your eyes on fire. It's flesh-colored! Ew. Not only is this an awful evolution color swap, but it just makes me uncomfortable? Regular Granbull's fine, but this color tone just makes me feel like it needs to be wearing pants. Huh. That did not help as much as I was hoping it would.
Number 5.
NIDOQUEEN.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other before I finish my song? Now look very carefully because one of these things just doesn't belong here.
Number 4.
YVELTAL. Normally, I'm in favor of weird shiny Pokemon designs. Since every Pokemon gets an extremely rare alternate color form, it might as well be unique. I feel like one of those dare to be different motivational posters. Well, here's a second poster for ya. Dare to be different, unless you're YVELTAL. This legendary Pokemon tries something bold and ends up looking like one of those terrifying skinless human cadaver displays. Like, yeah, I get it, it's the real science, there's muscles and bones and organs all under our skin, but personally I just like it when all that good stuff is hidden under the skin. You know how they say it's rude to look at someone like a piece of meat? Well, with this one, that is literally impossible to avoid.
Number 3.
The TYPHLOSION line. Some of the Pokemon on today's list, I think to myself, man, this shiny could have looked so good if it was something else instead. But TYPHLOSION is a special case where I can say that its cool shiny used to exist. Almost all of the first shiny Pokemon, first introduced in Pokemon Gold and Silver, were arbitrary palette swamps on an old device with a pretty low number of colors. So sometimes in that transition from Gen 2 to future generations, old shiny color palettes were altered a little bit in the newer games. The TYPHLOSION line gets completely shafted in this transition. In Gen 2, we got an eye-catching magenta for the flame quills, but in Gen 3 onward, the quills go back to boring old orange, and they just made it brown. My question isn't even what if, because I know what if. My question here is just, why?
Number 2.
Krookodile. Never force the cool guy to take off his sunglasses. I've seen it make the rounds with Eugene in Animal Crossing, and the shiny Pokemon equivalent is what they did to my boy Krookodile.
Look how they massacred my boy.
So normally I'm not a big fan of brown shinies. I've talked about them already, but this is a rare instance where I actually think brown would have been okay. It's an alternate form that adds an emphasis to the ground typing of the Crooked Croc. Give him the shades back and I think we're okay. But without him, he just looks ridiculous. As Johnny Bravo once said,
my glasses. I can't be seen without my glasses.
Number 1.
My number 1 pick is Officer Nanu when he leaves his house.
Do you get it?
It's because it's a cop-out! Garchomp and Gengar and Cosmog and Burmy, Pichu and Persian and Plusle and Blissey, Basculin and Fampi, Slacking and Chingling. These are a few of my least favorite things. They're all shiny, But despite it, they all look the same. They could have been special, but now they're just bland, and that's why they're all so lame.